New Delhi, September 21, 1995. The Pandit couldn't get much sleep. His mother was in her 90s and very, very ill. She could die any day now, and all the Pandit could do was close his eyes and pray. But being the priest of a temple won him no favor from the gods. That's when he heard a knock at the door.
Panditji, Panditji, Ganesh Ji's idol is drinking milk. What? Come and see for yourself.
The Pandit wasted no time. He immediately got a container of milk and ran to the temple. When he got there, he immediately went up to the Ganesh idol, took out a spoonful of milk and held it close to the idol's mouth. He couldn't believe what he saw. The milk was sucked up as if through a straw into the mouth of the idol. The surprise on his face changed to tears of joy. The gods were happy with his prayers. This video is brought to you by my supporters on Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, Nas.io and YouTube. If you wish to support me, you can find the links below. Hi, my name's Pranav and you're watching Science is Dope. The news of the god's idol drinking milk spread like wildfire throughout India. People saw that the same milk feeding was possible even in their local temples with idols of different gods. By mid-morning on the same day, Hindus had formed mile-long queues in front of temples all over the country with containers of milk to offer the gods. Many temple authorities found it impossible to handle the crowds of people and had to close down, saying their gods were not accepting milk. Some people skipped work just to stand in these queues, and the price of milk went up by up to 4 times in places. By noon, this was happening in Hindu communities all over the world.
And such thing I think has happened not only in India, on all the places in United States as well as in Singapore and Malaysia, and just now we are seeing the same thing happening here in front of our very eyes in Hong Kong also.
For many Hindus, the message was clear. This was a sign from God. Just like the mythological stories from their holy books, this event marked that God had taken human form to vanquish evil and re-establish dharma or justice.
People are not believing in God nowadays. There is God. There's only scientific reason. That's why they drink milk. That's how they want to prove there is God.
But there were some people that weren't immediately gonna jump to such conclusions. Why was this happening? Were the idols of God drinking milk? Or was there something else that we didn't know yet? This called for an investigation. The first clue as to what might be happening is that this wasn't happening with every single idol in every temple. Only certain specific idols, particularly a Ganesh idol. There were many investigations conducted into this whole phenomenon. Scientists and rationalists from all over the country tested this with different liquids, different idols, and food coloring, and they figured it out. One of the most prominent and most extensive of these investigations was conducted by Jayaraman of the Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Chennai, and he wrote up a detailed report of this whole incident, which I've linked down below. It also properly explains what's actually happening. It's time now to test this on an actual idol and see if this works. This Buddha idol I bought only for this video, so you better like and subscribe to appreciate the lengths I'm willing to go to for a video. Now, I've got only the head of a Buddha because that's all we need for feeding milk, and also because that's the only idol we could find. But I want to make a disclaimer here that I'm not trying to malign any religion or any ideology with this. I'm just trying to do an experiment, and this is the only idol I could find in a shop nearby. I've got some milk. I'm gonna try and feed it to the statue and see what happens. Whoa, drank the milk. Is it magic? No, the milk is right there. It's spilled right down there. All the milk, instead of going into the statue, is just flown down under the action of gravity. And you can see that's exactly what happens in most cases, even the TV news footage. And people are so busy in their activity of feeding milk, are so engrossed in their own devotion that they don't see that the milk is not really going into the idol. It's just flowing down the surface of the idol. The idol is not drinking milk. But why does it look like the idol is drinking milk? Let's look at it from three scenarios. One, dry idols. When you just hold up a spoon of milk to the lips of any idol that's dry, the milk will wet the lips and it'll stick to it, just like water or milk sticks to more surfaces. And the shape of the lips provide a crease in between, which makes it easy for the milk to just spill out of the spoon and down under the action of gravity. Moreover, if there are any cracks on the idol, that also provides a crease for the milk to flow down. 2. Wet idols. If the idol is wet, which is mostly the case, if water has flown down an idol, that provides a path along which the milk can also flow down. Remember, milk and water are two miscible liquids, so milk can easily flow down a path created by water. Now, in many places that explain this whole phenomenon, they attribute the entire thing to something called capillary action. But in fact, that's only a small part of this whole thing that just aids in the disappearance of milk. What is capillary action? We know liquids have a surface tension, a force that acts outward along the surface of the liquid. When you provide a small upward opening like a capillary to the liquid,
Most liquids like water and milk will form a concave surface.
in that capillary and not a flat one. And since the liquid surface has an outward force, that results in a net upward force along the capillary. Now this force will pull the liquid up along the capillary until the weight of the liquid column matches the force. And obviously, the narrower the opening, the more the liquid will climb to reach that weight which matches the force. Now, when you have an idol with a narrow upward opening, not necessarily tube shaped, like say a Ganesha idol with a gap between the mouth and the trunk, capillary action can come into play there, pulling the liquid out, up and out of the spoon, giving the appearance of drinking. But the fact is, none of the milk goes into the idol. All of it flows down the idol, whether the devotee notices it or not. If you'd like to learn more, my suggestion is you read the report by Jayaraman, which I've linked below. Now I just have to figure out what to do with this idol. Just as quickly as the whole story had come up, it also died down. Just 3 days after the fiasco, there weren't any long queues at temples. There weren't any people trying to feed idols milk. It was all over. Possibly because the science behind the phenomenon was understood, or maybe because people discovered this same thing could be done with other statues also. By the end of the week, there were reports that the statue of Virgin Mary in Singapore had started accepting milk. There were also reports of Bahujan Samajwadi Party workers feeding statues of Ambedkar and Buddha the same way. Some locals tried feeding alcohol to a Mahatma Gandhi statue, which it seemed to have accepted. The milk drinking phenomenon was not uniquely Hindu anymore. What had started as a godly miracle had become a sort of joke. After this incident, there were similar reports again in 2006, 2008 and 2010. But none of them had the sheer scale that we saw back in 1995. I guess people were not gonna fall for the same trick twice. But one question still remains. Why did perfectly well-educated middle-class Indians from all over the world fall for something like this? As a child, our minds are a blank slate. The moment we're born, or rather the moment we can see things and experience the world, we start building a model of the external world in our minds. And to us, reality is what's there in this model and not the actual objective reality. Nobody in the world can actually know what is objectively real. They can only know what they perceive to be objectively real. And quite often the model in our minds can be very close, if not almost the same as objective reality. For this, what a child would do is they would experiment with things in the real world and observe how it behaves to refine this model and bring it closer towards objectively real. But nobody can experiment on every single thing to refine that model. So we rely on authority figures to tell us things that we can refine our models with. And as a child, any adult, mainly parents, they are these authority figures. And whatever they tell us becomes part of this model. And if you're religious, then the stories parents tell you of religion becomes part of this model. And as a child, you do know the difference between a story and reality. So these characters from the myths and stories you hear become part of your reality. I'm not saying you can't outgrow it, some people do, but a lot of people don't. Then one day, when this person hears about a Ganesha idol in their local temple drinking milk, nothing sounds strange to them. Sure, it's a rare occurrence, but in their model of reality, this is something that can absolutely happen. And before they know it, they're in queue outside a temple with milk in hand waiting for their turn. Now, you can call this childhood indoctrination or religious bias, but the fact is, we're all biased regarding some things and get convinced of them far more easily than other things. The rational thing to do here is to recognize that we have a bias here. And maybe we should think about this a little more critically, a little more skeptically before we jump to a conclusion. Because quite often, your inability to do so opens the door for scammers who try to take your money, businessmen who might sell you poor quality products, social media fearmongers who might give you the wrong information, or politicians who might fool you into voting for them. If you like my content, it'd be really awesome if you could support me, because that becomes my main source of income. You can give me a one-time support using one of these options, or give me continued support using one of these options, for which you will get perks that you see on your screen. I want to thank my highest tier supporters on Patreon and YouTube. If you support me in my highest tiers, you can get your name displayed on the video like this. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, remember to stay rational.